billionaire CEO of the world's largest luxury cruise line, looked up from her desk as the most respected cruise captain in the company stood quietly before her. Captain Ethan Walker had commanded luxury cruise ships for nearly 30 years. He had sailed through hurricanes, saved passengers from disasters, protected thousands of lives. But today, the fearless captain looked nervous. His hands tightened around his captain's hat. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Would you be my date to my ex-wife's wedding?" Claire Harrington, the billionaire owner of Harrington Ocean Cruises, blinked in surprise. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Finally, she answered, "I'm sorry, Captain, I can't." Ethan forced a polite smile. "I understand." He tipped his captain's hat respectfully and quietly walked out of her office. He believed the conversation had ended forever. He had no idea that 2 nights later, the same billionaire CEO would walk into his ex-wife's wedding, stand beside him, and leave an entire ballroom speechless. Captain Ethan Walker wasn't famous because he commanded the company's flagship. He was respected because everyone knew exactly what kind of man he was. Honest, calm, reliable. Most importantly, he was a devoted single father. 3 years earlier, his wife Rebecca had divorced him after falling in love with Daniel Collins, a wealthy luxury resort developer who owned several private islands used by cruise passengers. Rebecca believed Ethan would never become wealthy enough to give her the glamorous life she wanted. She left. But Ethan never spoke badly about her. Instead, he devoted every spare moment to raising their 8-year-old daughter, Lily. She had become the center of his world. When Rebecca invited Ethan to attend her wedding, Lily begged him to go. "Daddy, I want us to be together one more time." Ethan couldn't refuse, but he knew exactly what would happen. Everyone would see the successful bride, the billionaire groom, and then the lonely cruise captain standing alone. That wasn't what frightened him. He feared Lily would see people pitying her father. That was why he had asked Claire. Not because he loved her, not because he wanted attention, simply because he wanted his daughter to believe her father still deserved respect. Saturday evening arrived. Rebecca's wedding was held inside the Grand Ocean Resort, a breathtaking private island destination owned by Daniel. Luxury yachts lined the marina. Live music floated across the sea. Crystal chandeliers reflected on enormous glass walls overlooking the harbor. Everything screamed wealth. Ethan arrived holding Lily's hand. She wore a light blue dress decorated with tiny seashells. "You look beautiful," Ethan smiled. "So do you, Daddy." She squeezed his hand proudly. For a moment, nothing else mattered until they stepped inside. Rebecca spotted them immediately. She smiled politely, but her eyes held victory. Daniel walked over wearing an expensive white tuxedo. He shook Ethan's hand just a little too firmly. "So glad you came, Captain. I wouldn't miss Lily's mother's wedding." Daniel smiled. "I'm sure things haven't always been easy after the divorce." Ethan simply nodded. Daniel leaned slightly closer. "Rebecca deserves this life." He gestured toward the luxurious ballroom, the yachts, the private island, the success. "I finally gave her everything she wanted." Every word landed like another punch. Lily stood quietly beside her father, watching, listening. Ethan swallowed his pride. "I hope you're both happy." They walked away smiling, leaving Ethan standing alone. Soon, the whispers began. Guests glanced toward him. Some recognized him as Rebecca's former husband. Others quietly asked what he did. "I'm a cruise captain." "Oh." One businessman smiled awkwardly. "I thought captains earned more." Another laughed softly. "I guess cruise officers don't exactly own islands." Ethan ignored every insult, until one drunken guest blocked his path. "So you're the man Rebecca left?" The guest laughed loudly. "I suppose billionaires are difficult to compete with." Several nearby guests chuckled. Ethan said nothing, because Lily had heard everything. Minutes later, she tugged gently on his sleeve. "Daddy, why do they keep looking at you like that?" His heart shattered. He knelt beside her. "They're just people who don't know us." But look sad for you." Ethan kissed her forehead. "I'm okay." She wasn't convinced. Neither was he, unable to breathe beneath the weight of humiliation. Ethan quietly stepped outside. The ocean breeze cooled his face. He walked along the moonlit marina until he reached a wooden bench overlooking dozens of luxury yachts. For the first time in years, Captain Ethan Walker felt defeated. Maybe Rebecca had been right. Maybe he'd never been enough. Maybe no uniform, no promotion, no medal could ever replace wealth. He lowered his head, completely unaware that another yacht had just docked. A sleek black executive yacht approached the private marina. Crew members rushed to the pier. A chauffeur opened the cabin door. Claire Harrington stepped onto the dock, elegant, confident, graceful. She spotted Ethan sitting alone, then quietly walked toward him. "You came?" Ethan whispered. Claire smiled faintly. "I said no to pretending. I never said I wouldn't come." Ethan stared at her. "I kept thinking about why you asked." She paused. "In 5 years. You never asked me for anything. So I realized. You weren't asking for yourself. You were asking for Lily." Claire extended her hand. "Come on, Captain. Let's go." After a long silence, Ethan took her hand. Together, they walked back toward the ballroom. The moment they entered, conversation stopped. Music continued playing, but nobody heard it anymore. Every guest turned. Rebecca froze. Daniel's confident smile disappeared. Executives whispered. Passengers recognized Claire immediately. "That's Claire Harrington, the CEO of Harrington Ocean Cruises. What is she doing here with Captain Walker?" Suddenly, the same people who had pitied Ethan moments earlier straightened their posture. Daniel hurried over. His arrogance had vanished. "Miss Harrington, what an honor." Claire politely shook his hand. "I'm here with Captain Walker. Nothing more, nothing less." But those 5 words changed everything. Rebecca couldn't hide the shock on her face. She looked from Ethan to Claire, then back again. For the first time, she realized the man she had underestimated had earned something far more valuable than money. Respect. Lily came running across the ballroom. "Daddy!" She looked curiously at Claire. "Who's she?" Ethan smiled. "This is Miss Harrington. My boss." Claire surprised everyone. She knelt beside Lily. "Your father talks about you all the time. He says you're the bravest little girl on every ocean." Lily smiled proudly. "And he says I'm beautiful." Claire nodded warmly. "He's absolutely right." Then she gently rested one hand on Ethan's arm. It was a small gesture, but it said everything. No speeches, no fake romance, no pretending, only respect. Only kindness, only someone choosing to stand beside another human being when he needed it most. Ethan no longer cared what the guests thought. He no longer cared what Rebecca believed. For the first time since his divorce, he stood tall again. Not because a billionaire CEO had walked beside him, but because she had reminded him of something he had almost forgotten. A person's worth isn't measured by luxury yachts, private islands, or bank accounts. It's measured by integrity, by courage, and by the love they give the people who matter most. Later that evening, Claire's executive yacht quietly dropped Ethan and Lily back at the harbor. Lily fell asleep against her father's shoulder during the ride home. Before leaving, Claire looked at Ethan. "You didn't need someone to save you tonight. You only needed someone willing to stand beside you." Ethan smiled. "Thank you." Claire returned the smile. "Good night, Captain." As Ethan carried Lily toward their small apartment overlooking the marina, he realized something had changed forever. Tomorrow he would return to the bridge, guide another magnificent cruise ship across the ocean, and continue being exactly who he had always been, a great captain, an even greater father, and this time, he no longer needed anyone's approval to know his true worth.